half of this, and so on. And if you were going to go from here to here, what would be the shortest way? Well, this way, And what we end up getting out of this slave boy who has no geometry background is the Pythagorean theorem. It's beautifully done. Have a look. You'll see. And it really looks like the boy thinks it up on his own in response to these questions. Well, as young people doing things, I remember my one dog that was 4 years old. She lived in Las Vegas in my mother-in-law's house. She raised chihuahuas. This was a teacup chihuahua, one of those little ones that you fly home in a bag under the chair, and 4 pounds. She weighed 4 pounds. And we did actually have a big teacup that we could sit her in and take a picture of. So, we did that. But in any case, the very first time we had her in the backyard, in the sun, and the solarium door, which is glass, I had closed, she went out, did some things, and she was like, wow, what a big place, because she had never had such a big area to run, with other dogs, too, because we weren't dogless at the time. But at one point, I'm sitting there, and she came running, and she went funk right into the solarium door. And she looked at it like, what the hell is this? You know how dogs, say stuff like that. She was like, what? She had never come face to face with glass before, apparently. I was there for the first occasion of it. I wish I had the camera on. I love having the camera on because, I like loading the internet up with every minute of me that I could possibly, add to.
Me too. I overshare so often.
It's so cool to do.
I know. It's like a personal diary.
Yeah, when I die, my kids will have so much of me. I never knew he was that much of an idiot. Who the hell would ask a class full of people what's the plural of penis? No, Dad! Everybody will give us grief, because you ask questions like that. No, whenever I say I'm sorry, not really sorry.
Don't say sorry, say I apologize.
I apologize. Yeah, I could use that. It's all Apollo's fault. That's the reason for it. So where am I going with this? Okay. So the boy knows the answers to these questions. And you do too. You might run into a glass door the first time.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
Well, that's all.
Yeah.
But usually you get the idea that, once you've done it, you're like, oh, that's glass.
Yeah.
Could be. It's fun when moose, and you live here, moose typically love walking into automatic doors. The door opens, they go in, they're stuck in the atrium. And now you have a bull moose stuck, surrounded by glass. Not usually a good thing. This morning, driving in, I passed 2 people who were walking along, pulling a sled on a narrow pavement area that had been obviously plowed. Long way, right? Coming up behind them were 2 big moose.
Oh.
And the moose were going much faster than these 2 people. So basically, they were going to be trapped. So I lowered my window and, said, there are 2 moose coming up behind you. And she said, what? And I realized, well, I had Telemon playing from 1720 on the radio, and it would probably be hard, because, I play the radio so loud it's going, funka, funka. No, I don't play it that loud. But still, it was, all that. And I realized, you have 2 moose coming. And they're, moose! Ah. They knew what moose were. In fact, they turned and looked and saw the moose. Moose are. That had nothing to do with where I was going. You know stuff before it happens. And this is part of the problem of our mind, you know, do you remember everything that you've ever experienced? Do you remember everything that you haven't experienced yet? Because it's all part of your identity, your soul. Where did we get this idea? Please.
So for the self, I would describe like why us like a social, like we have like biological outcomes, and then all the experience we have like experience so far defines ourselves. And then for that reason, I would say like we're just using our logic to like guess the probability of the future, not like remembering future.
That's a hand grab.
If you have, if you think of yourself as a certain set of ideas, and one by one over, 50 years, each of those ideas change until none of those ideas are what they were, would you still consider yourself yourself? Or would you consider yourself different? And if you would consider yourself different, at what point would you do it? Would you do it once one idea changed or once all of them change? Yep.
This is called the problem of the persistent self. Are you a self that's persistent over time? And there's all kinds of problems. It's not just with people. It's Theseus's ship. How many of you read about Theseus's ship problem? You know, if you have a rotten board, you fix and then another rotten board, and eventually all the boards have been replaced. Is it still Theseus's ship? Right? You remember that one. But your point, I think, and it's interesting to me that so far, every time you said something. You two must like one another. I mean, we all like one another, actually, right? I'm not going to get. Am I blushing? I better not. Actually, I do recommend to young men that if they want to live long, be rich, have a good life, marry a really smart woman.
Yes.
And do what she says. Women tend to be so much smarter than men about, so many things. It's just me. Remember, I got married senior year in college, and I'm still married to the same woman, and she still laughs at the same jokes. I now realize that she's crazy. But I think the answer to your question, and what's your name?
Ellie?
Ellie, okay. I like your emails, by the way.
Thank you.
Has everybody been emailing me and getting responses back?
Yes.
Cool. You are a self right now, but aren't you also the same self that you've been since when you were conceived?
Personally, I don't think so. Can you have more than one self?
Is that possible?
There are people that have multiple personalities.
But would it be defined as like a self, like each different personality, would each one be a different self?
In some respects, yes.
In what exactly is identity, personality, alongside just you as one person, maybe? Like, just, you the human, and then, like, how many times that person has changed? Are you still, like, the same person? Like, just in terms of, like, you?
I mean,
or, like, are you going to be a different person at different time because you're going under a different personality or persona?
I mean, you could go under kind of the assumption that every single person has certain aspects of themselves that they consider, like axioms or like laws about who they are. I'm a very curious person by nature. That would be like one of the laws of who I am. Like that's kind of like if you think of like the movie Inside Out, kind of like your core memories in that movie. Where like, you know, there are certain things about yourself that holds true throughout your existence, and there are certain things that change and are more nebulous.
Okay, so with the concept don't kill somebody, you can't be something that's subject to change.
Well, I mean, if somebody pointed a gun at me, I think that would change.
Okay, but would you still think that killing is wrong?
Again, it depends, you know.
Like just innate, I mean, like not in terms of like self-defense. or
Innately,
something.
then yes.
Okay. And do you think that because you learned it when you were a kid, like 5 or 6 or whatever, that moms were bad at it?
No, I think that because people can change, and you know,
No, I mean like just learning it.
I don't necessarily know where I learned it.
Yeah, notice that this problem applies to like the universe as well. And in fact, doesn't it apply to practically everything? Which makes me think it's a language problem. We mean by identity what? Who I am right this moment. Right? Bill Jamison, 206-428-256. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. All that stuff. Figure 36, 24, 36 is not me. Because I'm not shaped like that. So, which is cool, because there's a whole lot of things I am, there's a whole lot of things I'm not. I'm not French. J'aime le français, but I'm not French, right? I might like this particular song. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would you like to hear a song? How come it doesn't? Oh, I know. You need to specify. Why?
Maybe play some Steve.
Oh, you know what? It gave me singer, and I didn't want that. This is the song. Why am I getting benefits for seniors? Basically singing, if only I had, all the powers, I would fix this, and if I was a magician, I would fix this. All these problems. She wants to solve all the problems of the world. This is Zaz. I don't know. Is there a best song?
Yes.
Look at that. I love it. I love it. Well, you've heard some bad songs. Sunday. Sunday, I heard a really bad song. I was listening, on Zoom, and all the folks that were there started singing, let us sing a song, and I'm like, oh, I hate that Sunday. Oh. Okay, so math. Mano, we have the slave boy who solves a math problem, turns out to be somehow already there. Where does math come from? We have at least one math major here, right? I thought you were psychology.
No.
You're
I'm
math.
a math major.
Okay, so is math discovered or invented?
Discovered. Well, I mean, numbers aren't real.
That's true. I
They're
love
just things, like when you're learning stuff as a kid, you think of like word problems more than you think of numbers because they're easier to picture. Numbers are just abstract symbols on a page.
They're like a language, but for science.
Yeah,
You know, where did measurements start? I mean, you know, what, 30,000 years ago, they've got a bone that has hash marks on it, you know, and then, you know, what, you've got people inventing little shaped things that, you know, indicate maybe you have 10 sheep or something, put them in a jar and seal the jar, and that way it's kind of like you're safe, you know, because you know this is your deed to all the stuff you own, and no one can mess with it, and if you break it open, then you can see what you had, you know, et cetera. And then eventually they started getting smart and putting the indentations of those things on the clay, so you wouldn't have to break the thing. And then they realized, why the heck do that? Let's just make a flat piece of clay and put the indentations of what you got on it. And then before you know it, we have writing and recording and, you know. And are they inventing or discovering? Well, that's a language problem. We're confused when we ask that question, again, because our language enables us to use two different words for something relatively similar. But the real issue we're wondering is, was the math always there? And it seems absolutely the case that it was. And we have the golden ratio, which, how many of you are familiar with the golden ratio? The math major, of course. Also known as phi, or fe, or phi, 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 fo, fum. I smell the number of an Englishman. No, this is an amazing thing. The ratio is a particular ratio that's duplicated in my teeth as I go from my front teeth to the next tooth, to the next tooth, at least if I'm handsome, right? If I've met too many knuckle sandwiches, you know, by the time I'm questioning this, my teeth might not match the golden ratio. The buildings we look at that we really like seem to follow the golden ratio. The buildings that are oddly shaped like this room clearly did not have the golden